Hey, Louise.
Hi, Charles. How are you?
I'm good, dear.
Good. Is it good? Whatever you're eating?
Yeah, the nuts.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the last little bite of my lunch there.
Mm-hmm.
So what have you been up to,
I
like?
tried.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I tried to work on a painting that I was uh inspired to do to use a method that Edward Gonzalez did, but I didn't finish it in time to get it into you. So maybe next week.
Okay.
It's just the same. I guess the same kind of steps, but I'm gonna outline some of the figures,
Mm-hmm.
see if that
Okay.
works.
All right. I look forward to seeing how that all works out.
All right.
You know,
I
it's
may have to.
always an experiment.
Yes.
You know, you jump into this stuff, and you have a picture in your mind, and that's really the battle right there. Is to get it to meet that picture that you have in your head of
Right.
what it should be in the end. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not always that easy.
This class stretches my imagination or my artistic skill.
Yeah.
So I may have to bow out early though today. I've got a serviceman coming by.
Okay.
So
Well, yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
Interesting. You're showing up in the list over to the side, but you're not showing up. Well, I guess that shouldn't really matter. You're on my big screen, but you're not up there at the top where you usually see everything.
That's not your gallery. I mean, your settings you have on the computer.
No, usually you're up.
I'm at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Are you showing?
Yeah. Well, I clicked on participants, and so I have a sidebar with a list of people who are now signed into the class, which are just you and I right now.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see what happens when everybody else gets on.
Okay, yeah, because you are the main image on the screen, and I've got a little tiny spot at the top, which I don't remember seeing like that before, but maybe, I don't know, maybe they changed something.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing. Is I'm seeing a small picture of me, with all the stuff going on in the background, and then you're the main frame.
Right, that's what I'm seeing too.
Yeah.
Of me.
Mm-hmm. Of you?
And here comes Rebecca.
Oh, okay. So you're seeing, well, are you seeing me as the main frame, as the main screen,
Yes.
or?
Oh,
yes. Yeah, so it's just opposite. Okay. Well, yes, this Zoom thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've been dealing with new technology since yesterday. Fulton County gave me one of these. It's an iPhone 11.
Oh, that's what I've got.
Yeah, but it's like, but this is just for work. It's not my private. So, but it's nice to have it. The thought behind getting it was that it would have the capability to have a hotspot, and that I could use the hotspot when there were cases like bad weather like it is right now, and one of the videos or something like that was buffering and playing slow, that I would have the hotspot to back it up, and I could just switch it over to the hotspot, and then we could go on with class as a backup. But
good luck.
yeah, I was told that in fact you have to write Congress, I guess, to get, you know, a hotspot on this. So,
Well, sometimes I have trouble with the video on this laptop I'm viewing you on now, and I have to switch over to my cell phone because things happen.
mhm,
I don't know. So sometimes
yeah,
I have to do that. So I don't know.
yeah, you know, depending on what's going on with the weather and how many people in the neighborhood are online all at the same time, you know, you may get, you know, really good, smooth reception on downloading everything. And or you'll get it to where it's broken up or it has like a 3 or a 4 second lag between when I say something and you guys hear it or vice versa, which is sometimes why we end up talking over each other.
Right, because the images have a delay on them. We don't see them right away.
Yeah,
When
well,
you
the sound does too
Oh,
sometimes. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
sometimes it's like somebody will stop talking and you'll still hear them, you know, because they'll,
Rebecca.
yeah, it will be finishing up what they were saying in the first place. So anyway, let's see, we got a whole nother minute.
Hello, everybody.
There
Hello.
you go.
How y'all doing?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Good.
Can you see me old, fat, ugly, with a big belly?
Well, Armando,
Who's that?
we're basically just seeing you from the chin up. So, you know, unless you have a belly right under your chin, you know, we're not seeing that yet.
See Rebecca? See Miss Eloise?
Mhm.
Charles, did you get a bunch of art that I sent to you yesterday?
Yes, I got a couple of pieces of art, and I got some kind of message with something like, you know, it couldn't send the email, or you couldn't.
Yeah, I think that's unless I type your name in every time, it goes to the wrong address. I can't seem to highlight your name and have it go to the correct address, so I've just been forced to type you in, and sometimes I don't type it in correctly. I apologize.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I was wondering what that was about because they did actually arrive here, you know, in the form
Well,
of saying,
good.
you know, well, it couldn't send the email. It's like, really? Okay.
Well, on this end, it's what was left out of your original address was Charles.Scoggins at Fulton County, and the
Done.
GA.gov. GA was left out, and so a lot of times my computer defaults to that incorrect address, and I have to go back through and resend.
Yeah. Okay.
I've tried erasing it on my contacts,
Mhm.
and I thought I did, but it keeps popping back up. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you using Outlook?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the issue. Outlook does that
Okay.
to me. Outlook does that to me all the time. You know, I'll start
Okay, so
typing.
what do you use instead of Outlook?
Well, I usually use Gmail.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I will try that route.
yeah, just for my personal stuff. Unfortunately, I have to use Outlook for everything going through the county. You know, because that's
What is Outlook? I don't have it. I have seen it, but what is Outlook?
Outlook is like an email application for like you know, a Microsoft platform.
Oh,
It's now only semi-Mac friendly. Okay, just semi, and that's it. That's all you get. Well, we have a whole 4 people here plus me. Wow. All right. Well, no matter. We're going to jump into this. We're going to start looking at some stuff, and I've got some stuff to share with you, and we'll go from there. Okay. Hopefully nobody's out there getting wet. I hear somebody's dog.
Sorry, we're dog sitting. Our granddogs are here.
Oh, okay.
Fred came to the back door and they barked at him.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's start here with you guys. Stuff. We'll start with that. And we'll probably get through most of this pretty quickly because there's really not all that much of it. So this is a piece that Bernice was working on this week, and I was waiting for her to get here because I wanted to see, you know, if she had done anything further. We talked about trying to create about 5 steps in value around that leg and around the arms and things to make them feel like they have, you know, more weight and dimension to them. So hopefully she'll get here and we'll get an update on that. This is Bob, and
Is he on?
yeah, he's here. I see him. I see his smiling face. And you know, he did a really, really nice job. You know, that frame and that image really do actually work together really, really well.
Thank you.
Bob, have you done anything about her pointy breast at this point?
Yes, I filled that in on the upper level a little bit. I've added some more greenery so she doesn't look so
Her boob.
halo-y. Yes, I
Okay.
did. I haven't maybe finished it yet, but I think I'm much better.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it was a little thing, but you know, those little things make a difference.
May I ask a question?
Pardon?
May I ask a question about his frame on the girl picking the grapes?
Absolutely, yeah.
Where is it, metal or is it wood?
It's metal.
Oh, it's beautiful. Is it an antique?
No, actually, it came from a garage sale from a neighbor, and it wound up the fact that there's a painting on the back side of it. I think I showed it, I don't know, several weeks ago, of a guy who sold that thing to them for about $250. They didn't like it anymore, so they put it in the garage sale. Anyway.
The frame itself is gorgeous.
Probably it's an antique.
No, it's I could say that, but I'd be lying.
Yeah, what he told me is it was a reproduction. And,
Yes.
and that's kind of a popular thing to do. They're now making a lot of reproductions of a lot of arts and crafts, Victorian, Art Nouveau sorts of items, household items and things. A lot of those are coming back. People like the style of them. All right, and then this is another piece he worked on, which I guess we saw about maybe a month ago or so.
Probably.
Yeah, and so he's gone a little further with it. And he's actually used some airbrush to sort of soften the overall feel of, you know, the shark in the background. And it helped quite a bit. If you notice, there's really only like 2 areas in the painting that tend to be really, really crisp and sharp right now. One is the teeth, or the edges of the teeth. And then the other is the eye. Now, Bob, I'm going to say something to you, and I want you to let that soak in a little bit.
Say that again.
I guess what I would do in looking at this, I've looked at it for a while, and I would either, you know, I would determine which is more important. Do I want them looking at the teeth, or do I want them looking at the eye? And then I would leave the focal point, if it's the eye, for example, alone. And then I would go back in and I would just soften the edges on the teeth just a little bit, so that, you know, they're not competing with each other. And the reason that they are right now is that they both have, you know, sharp edges. The other is that they also tend to be black against white, so they're equal in value.
Mhm.
So there's a couple different ways you can manage that. Let's say that you wanted to soften the teeth, rather than making them, this very stark white, you could gray them down a little bit, just
Right.
maybe one or two values. And just taking them down just a little bit will again make the eye more dominant and pull forward.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. I fully agree with you. I've looking at it for a while, and the whole head just doesn't look quite like it's coming forward. Like the eye it should be looking right at you. I mean, the eye should be way out here, almost 3D position in front of you, and the teeth should be back underneath on the body. And you're right, exactly. I mean, I need to change that a little bit. Absolutely.
So here's a way to check that. Okay, if you take your hand or your finger and you just cover up the teeth, and see all of a sudden that eye begins to move forward, right?
Yep, sure does.
And see, then you put the teeth in there and it kind of flattens out again. And that tells you that you've got probably too much contrast or about equal contrast in both of those areas, which
Gotcha.
can't happen in reality.
Now, this is a shark, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's called a scallop hammerhead shark.
Oh, scallop, yeah, but not, it's called hammerhead. Okay.
Yeah, there are about 5 different kind of hammerhead sharks out there, and this is one of the more unusual
Mhm.
head shapes of a hammerhead shark. So
All right. Anyway, just that was my thought on that. And have you done any more with this as far as softening that light up here?
no, not yet. No, I haven't worked on this side at all. I'm gonna.
Just checking back in.
Well, thank you.
And there's Eloise's, purple peppers. And you're basically, you've changed the shadow on this. We talked about softening it a little bit. Have you gotten back to it?
Yes, I did, and I forgot to send it in. So yeah, I did fade the edges.
Uh-huh. And what do you think now?
It looks more realistic. It looks more like a shadow.
Yeah. But the peppers actually kind of come forward now that you've softened that edge, right?
Oh, okay, I'll have to check again. I was so intent on softening the edge, I didn't pay much attention to anything else. But okay, I will check that out.
Yeah, just look at it for a little bit because one of the things that again are a little bit disturbing is the fact that the edge here and the contrast is so strong that it's as dominant, as the pepper itself. And by softening that edge, you should be able to kind of quiet it down a little bit and make the pepper and the color in the pepper, kind of be more dominant, to your eye, so you're looking at it more. That was my thought.
What else do you see that I need to change so I can get 2 things done at
Do
one
it all
time?
at once.
Pardon?
Well, what's the fun in that? Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, I think we talked about, mainly it was the shadow, and now you've gotten the shadow with some color in it, and I think it's just finding the edge. After that, you're gonna have to look at it. You're gonna have to kind of decide really where you want to focus. Do you want to focus really in this area, which is really nicely painted, and I would encourage you to make that the focal point, which means that some of this stuff back here needs to just be a little less, a little less sharp, a little less contrast. Not a lot, just enough. Just take the edge off again, so that this pepper really pulls forward, and that these two, kind of sit back there and do what they need to do, which is be peppers, but not, not be the hero, of the painting. And, I think real clearly, that's kind of the hero of the painting right there. So it's just a matter of how much do you take these down. And there's different ways of doing it. Again, it's all about contrast. So, and there's 5 different types of contrast. So if we pick value, for example, right? We could look and see, is there anything with more contrast and value than this pepper right here? And squinting our eye down, the answer is clearly yes. The contrast between this dark and this light in here, the yellow and the darker red, are about equal to the contrast, if not greater than the contrast here. So that leaves us with a choice. Do we increase the contrast here, or do we lower the contrast here and here? And my answer would be, I really kind of like how that's painted, and the fact that your brush strokes and things follow the form, and everything's working there. So let's leave that alone. Okay, it's not broke. Let's not fix it. Instead, let's fix the areas that, are not quite, up to par to this. So like this highlight, it could be light, but maybe I would take just a little bit of that purple and make, instead of like a straight white highlight or close to straight white, I'd put just a little bit of that purple in there to maybe take it down a value or two, and also to relate to the color family of the surface it's sitting on.
Mhm.
So that might be, one way of just softening the contrast in there. And, the same thing in here, and probably along in here. And probably more importantly here, because this light up against the dark and then also up against the edge of the shadow, all that stuff is coming together there, and it's kind of distracting. It draws your eye to that point. So
Okay.
again, just adjusting the value down a little bit, I think would go a long way in, in getting this to sit backward. Same thing here. Like the top of your pepper and everything here works. I mean, it works really well. I wouldn't mess with it. What I would do is this light, on the side of the pepper, all of this seems too bright, and it's all kind of the same all the way down till it flattens out. And if this were actually moving on a surface that was moving vertically away from me, you would kind of expect that the value here and the value here can't be the same. They would have to change. And so again, I would just kind of, knock that back. Maybe with a glaze, maybe you take a little bit of that red violet, thin it way down, and just glaze this bottom part back. Like right in here, just to kind of push that under, and you leave this alone, and you leave all the rest of the top of it alone, and I think you'd be okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just kind of, this begins to move and feel like it's the right shape all the way up to about right there. And then after there, this wants to somehow move forward right in here. And so again, just knocking the value down right in there would go a long way.
Sure, but in the modern nature, if you ever grow bell pepper, you realize that all of them don't have the same shape.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
They do not. Just like people don't all have the same shape.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, we come in different sizes and shapes, and and even that's not consistent. Huh?
Definition of a glaze?
Pardon?
What is your definition of a glaze?
Glaze is where you're taking any kind of pigment and you're thinning it with a medium. And you know, you can call it a wash. If it were in watercolor, you can call it a wash. If it's oil painting, acrylic, you know, anything else, you know, you call it a glaze.
Okay,
The same
thank
thing,
you.
same thing, just different mediums. Okay. All right, John sent this in, and I thought this was really kind of nice and informational. Let's blow this up a little bit. So this is his painting that he sent in to us day before yesterday or so. And you can see how he developed, you know, the overall painting. So he started down here in the lower right-hand corner. And, you know, he did a pencil sketch, you know, just an outline of the figures. So he knew where they were. And then from there, you know, he began to develop the background of the street scene, you know, with the arch and the other building in the background. Looks like some steps or a stairwell, you know, coming down, and then another flight, you know, coming down to the level that they're on. And he got most of that, you know, in place and figured that out. And then he went back in and he just worked, you know, on his figures to get them to really be the focal point. Now, the good news is, you know, he was really successful at getting your eye to, you know, focus in on this woman, you know, who is closest to us. You know, she seems to be the key focal point. And then she's kind of a secondary actor. And if you look at the contrast and the use of color, you know, she's a little more muted overall than this one. And this one has like warmer color mixtures, you know, in her skin tones and things. Again, warm colors tend to come forward. Cooler colors, these, tend to recede. Okay? That's the general rule of thumb. Now, that's not always, but that's, you know, just a general. And in this case, they do. They work just fine. And it sets up a nice kind of logical order so that, one, in scale, she's larger, you know, on the page because she's closer to us. She's a little further away. So, you know, he's scaled her down a little bit. And as things go back into the background, each step, you know, they get a little bit smaller. So that, again, they feel like they're in proper scale to each other. And he was pretty successful at pulling off, you know, this illusion of depth, you know, looking down this street, you know, in relationship to the women. I think I've got the full version of that somewhere. Yes. There we go. So there's the final piece. And it works out, you know, really nicely. So I think you did.
Hey, John, you look like you've got your act together.
Looks can be deceiving.
Right.
It's a nice painting. It's a very nice painting.
It is nice.
Not with this one, John.
Thank you.
And then we have our good friend Ilan.
I just wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
I started to ask you yesterday. I want to try to keep looser. You suggested not doing the undersketch first and just start painting.
Mhm.
So I did start one today without any sketch underneath, and so we'll see what that works out to be.
Yeah, I think yeah, that might help you. Again, you know, not having a boundary line to lay color down to will help loosen you up. And that's That's one of the problems with, that's one of the many problems with drawing, or having drawing as part of the process of painting rather than just painting, is that you begin to set up these boundary lines, and you have, you have to adhere to them. And, sometimes that works out. A lot of times it doesn't, because you need.
Oh, the image that you showed before with the three sections, that's basically how I do every drawing, every painting I do. I start out.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then,
Yeah, that's with a line drawing and then
Right.
your color.
So,
Right.
so the line drawing gives me a little bit of focus on what area the rest of the color goes, but so we'll see how I do today with the other one.
Do you ever use like a liquid mask?
No, I've been looking at that, but I haven't tried it. You were talking about it the other day. Once you put it on, I understand what it does, but then how do you remove it or paint over it?
Oh, well, you don't remove it until you want to paint that area.
Right.
And then it's and there's different types of liquid masks, but a lot of them are kind of like rubber cement. So you just take your finger and start rubbing them, and they'll peel off into a ball, and then you start making a little ball and rubbing the ball over the areas where you want to lift the rubber cement, and they just stick together and it will pull it right off.
Yeah, after we talked about it, I looked it up online, and Amazon has a little jar of it for like $9.
Yeah.
I was gonna try it.
Yeah, and it's probably one of the most expensive things on the planet. You're spending $9 for, a little,
Yes.
lid,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
probably less than an ounce.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah. And for me, if I were going to use something like that, I would need it by the gallon. So,
When you do use it, you just sort of paint the area you want without, and then it just sort of peels off like a rubber cement.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, that being said, a lot of people go out and spend a lot of money on getting, this liquid max material. And honestly, you would be just as well off just buying a little bit of thinner and some rubber cement and using the rubber cement as your mask.
What kind of thinner do you use?
Pardon?
What kind of thinner do you use for the rubber cement?
Well, you can use like a mineral spirit, but they actually have an actual thinner for rubber cement.
An aqua what? Thinner?
I said an actual thinner
Oh, thinner, yes.
for rubber cement, and it's called rubber cement thinner.
Gee whiz, what an original name.
I know, isn't it?
Yeah, I've used candle wax in the past, but then you can't remove that.
Well, you can. You can. You have to heat it. You have to warm it, and then blot it out a little at a time. But it never really quite removes everything.
No, right.
And the nice thing, about using rubber cement is that rubber cement is A, cheap, B,
Right.
you can put it on with a brush, so you can be very accurate with it. And it holds a nice tight line. And then when you're ready to lift it, it's really quite easy. I mean, obviously there's a little work involved in getting it off, because you've got to be kind of meticulous and go around and just try to pick up all the little, the little parts that curl up and
Right.
come off your paper. Yeah. The thing about rubber cement is that once it's out of the jar, it stays sticky.
Yes.
even
Yes.
when it's dried and you've rolled it up into a ball, if you set it on a table or anything else, then that ball is glued to that table. You gotta pull it off, and then you gotta clean this part and stuck off with your ball again, because it will stick to everything. But again, it's a useful tool, and it's rather
Right, because the watercolor you can't paint over like you would with an oil or something like that.
right. Yeah, but well, the thing is with rubber cement thinner, you can.
Oh, yeah.
See, because there's, well, not rubber cement thinner, with rubber cement. See, what you basically do is you take your jar of rubber cement, and if it's real thick and difficult to spread, then you just put a little bit of that thinner in there and you stir it in and keep working it until you get it this nice fluid, almost like honey-like consistency.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and then at that point, then you can take your brush and you can move it around and, make the shapes you want and block out, different areas of the painting. And then you lay down your paint, how many ever layers you're gonna, put down in the background.
Right,
And
okay.
when you get to the point where you're wanting to work on the figures or whatever, you just take a little ball of rubber cement and you just start peeling it back from the image that you want to work on. And then you've got a nice clean image right there. And it doesn't have any color in it. It's all been
Right, yeah,
sheltered.
that's a good thing.
Just be sure the background is dry before you start peeling it off.
Oh yeah. You want to put your paint down, and then you want to let it dry thoroughly, and then you want to lift it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because any time that you're putting any kind of pressure on wet paper,
Right.
the paper is gonna, react.
I've learned that the hard way, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and when I say react, I don't mean in a good way.
No, no.
Big chunk of paper start, pulling up and stuff. And before you know it, your nice sheet of watercolor paper looks like, it's craters on the moon. So yeah, don't do that. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then we have Elon, and I'm going to skip to the second one here.
Yes, sir.
Elon started this, he said, in a class, at Sproul. Is that correct?
Yeah, I started it at Sproul, and I got to finish it, and I liked your advice to go over all those strong colors and mute them down, but I didn't get a chance to do it yet.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
And I'm going to do it in the next day or two.
Yep. Well, we got the weekend coming up, so you'll have a little time to paint.
No, I got the weekend. I have the Sproul class on Saturday. So I want to finish it before the weekend.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I was going to say, you could just paint in your class,
Is this girl a model for you, Elon?
What?
Is this girl a model for you?
No, this is Charles' girlfriend.
Oh.
No, she's not my girlfriend.
That's what I'm saying. I'm
Right.
joking.
Yeah, don't start rumors, okay? Yeah. Yeah. No, actually, I don't know this girl. This came out of it came off the internet actually, and it was a model, and some photographer had shot her in front of basically this pool area, this reflecting pool, and it was kind of a Middle Eastern kind of feel to it. So, but I thought it was a nice image, and so this was
It's a very nice image.
one of the challenge images that we worked with. Okay, so that's where he got that resource. Okay, well we'd like to see it when you get it finished. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then this is Jackie. Jackie sent this in the other day. I don't know whether she's here or not. Jackie, are you around? Jackie Lattimore? Oh, okay. I see her waving. Unmute yourself, dear. Talk to us.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Okay, great. Okay. So what's going on here?
Well,
Well,
she's just a lady in the clouds. It's in the clouds. She's in the
Yes.
sky.
Yeah. It's a bit of an optical illusion, then, because her hair,
Yeah,
her hair kind of becomes, or kind of blends into the sky itself.
yeah.
That's pretty, Jacqueline.
I love it.
It's very nice.
That's a good idea. Now let me ask you this, okay?
Okay.
I'm looking at, how her hair kind of fades into the sky, and for the most part, I mean that works. It's fine. But then we get to the face, okay? And
Yeah.
you've got a very tight, kind of sharp outline, around her face. And then also the different edges, like the jawline, the line for the eyes, the eyebrows, the lips, even the earring and the ear are all very lineal and very kind of hard. And
Very hard. Okay.
And, it's kind of a graphic style. And so you kind of stylized her in a very kind of graphic way. You simplified it into, just simple shapes and, and edges. I'm wondering.
So
I'm wondering though, if, like right here at the nose, okay, you've got this softer sort of transition. So there's a lighter value, then there's, something close to what we would call a mid-tone. Because the surface of the nose changes. And then you get more light, pardon me, as it hits the front plane of the face. And so all of that works really pretty nicely. It's this jawline right here. And I'm just wondering whether you could do something like this where you soften the edge of that jawline.
okay, yeah, it does look hard.
Yeah, and it's not quite, it's not so straight and not so hard. Maybe instead of being so straight, it has, where the curve of the chin.
Mm-hmm.
So you just keep bringing it back and just slightly round it. Just a little bit right in there. And you give yourself a transition from the light to like this gray and then to the dark. But again, keep the edges kind of like you have here. See where they're broken up and a little more soft. And you'll get that to kind of turn right there and turn under to attach to the neck. Right? And it's just that one little change right in there.
Okay, give us a jawline. Okay.
Yeah, and again, it's like when I take my finger and I cover that hard edge up, all the rest of the face and the hair and everything work really, really nicely. It's just that one line that's really, really distracting.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
We have Jean, and we have the before, I think. Yeah, I think this is, well, let's see. Is that the before or the after? Yeah, that's the before. Okay. All right, so Jean sent this in earlier this week. And in looking at it, again, it's a same thing we've been talking about with a lot of these pieces, which is how do you kind of hone in on a focal point and get the eye directed to go to a specific place in the painting. And, you know, once you find out how to do that, then, you know, it's a matter of making a choice. And it's like, where should you do it? So like in this case, you know, she had a very, very nice, you know, waterfront image, and she's got some buildings, you know, they could be, you know, commercial, like industrial buildings, old industrial buildings, or they could be, you know, probably houses as well. But regardless, the 3 houses, or actually 4 houses right back here, because the edges were all sharper and she had a higher degree of value contrast from this dark to this light, it kind of competed with really where your eye really wants to go, which is around all this color and stuff, and this other house. And the house itself was so, it's like she had just a few tight lines in there, and everything else was really blurry and very soft. And so your eye would go right past it, and you would just go back to, you know, like these 2 guys right here. And my thought is that that wasn't really probably what she wanted to do. She probably wanted to focus more on this house. And what she was really missing was, 1, value contrast, and number 2, the edges, you know, and making the edges crisper, sharper here. And even with just making, you know, those lines a little clearer and a little more defined, that would bring this forward and make it more dominant than the houses back here.
Mhm.
And so she did that.
Right.
And that this is the end result. Okay. Now where does your eye go?
The house with the yellow on it.
That's right.
Yeah, that seems closer to us now, right?
Yeah.
And then these houses, you know, the cluster of houses back here, even though they still have a lot of contrast, they still sit back. You know, they don't come as far forward, you know, as this building right here. See, and again, it's just a matter of adjusting the contrast. And it made it work, you know, completely differently. We have her barn. This is I think you said this was a small watercolor, right, Gene?
No, it's a 16 by 20
Oh, it's a 16 by 20.
in a mat. It's a 16 by 20 mat. So I guess it would be what, 12 by, I don't know, maybe 12 by 14
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah,
But
one.
the mat size, 16 by 20 is the mat size I have around it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the opening could be 10 by 13. It could be, what is it?
Maybe 15.
12 by 16, I guess. You know, is a pretty common opening. They usually, those mats, you know, even though
Right.
they fit a 16 by 20 frame, most companies make at least 3 to 4 different versions of them with different formats, you know, to fit different pieces of artwork. But yeah, whatever fits it would be thought. But the
Right.
pardon me. You know, the composition here, you know, and the focal point, everything else work really nicely. You know, you focus in on the barn up here on the hill. And, you know, it's not right here in the middle. Okay. So your eye kind of comes in, moves around, you know, right up here to the barn and the silo. And then you kind of slide down the ridge. And then you know, right back down to the orange and across, back up. And so, you know, this is one of those paintings that you look at and your eye kind of meanders a little bit. And the nice thing about it is you can look at a painting like this for a long time because your eye's constantly moving and you're not wearing it out, you know. And usually You know, there's a thing in advertising, you know, if you can get them for 3 seconds, then you've got them.
Yeah.
You know, because the fact is, if you can stop anybody for up to 3 seconds to where they can sort of let an image absorb into their mind, then it's going to stick.
Right.
You know, they're going to remember it. You know, it's not going to just disappear from their brain. And so that's really kind of what you want with a painting as well. You want them to be able to look at the painting, and you want them to kind of move through it and get involved in it, you know, to kind of wonder, you know, what am I getting from this? You know, what kind of story is being told? And, you know, how does that relate to my story? So, and that's how you engage viewers. You know, I've literally seen people, you know, go into a museum and there's all these paintings and things around it. There's one painting that stops them. And you come back a half hour later and they're still looking at that painting because it's got their attention, you know. And now there's things going on in their brain and their mind that the artist who painted it probably couldn't have ever imagined. See, but it's become something that's personal to them because they can relate to something in that painting or that picture. So anyway, that's a nice, really nice job on all of that. And
Charles, may I make a comment?
Yeah.
I love the way that Jean has the horizon. It's not straight across, but it gradually descends, and that makes the painting more interesting to my eye.
Mm-hmm.
I like her sky and the field of grass, especially the sky though.
okay. All right. So I'll throw a comment in there too.
Okay.
Is it just me, or does everybody else see water over here with the side, you know, the distant side of a lake or a river over here, and trees along it?
Where, I don't see your cursor. Where's your cursor? Oh, right there.
Right here,
Oh,
way over to the right. This little triangle right here. See,
right.
you've used the pencil line.
I didn't see it till you
You don't
mentioned.
see it there because a funny thing was I didn't even think to put water.
Yeah, but
I didn't either because it was
to
just
me, this looks like a
didn't
tree
even
that's
think
being
about the water.
reflected in the water. And then, you know, whatever's going on
Mhm,
here
yeah.
is being reflected in the water. It's kind of a mirror image on all of these. And to
So
me,
this is
that kind of
Jim?
looks like a body of water sitting there. You know,
This
with,
is Jean.
yeah, this is
Well,
Gene.
that was not purposeful. But that's what's called a quirk.
Well, and that's
That's interesting. I didn't notice it till you said something.
right. And see, you know, that's the thing. It's like everybody sees something different, you know?
I see something else.
And it's real subtle, but it's, you know, it's a nice effect. So you did good.
Bob Ross, happy, what do they call it?
Happy accident.
Happy mistake.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Thank God for happy accidents, right? Okay.
There you go.
Right.
Okay. So this is the girl picking the grapes, you know, from Jean. And this one we talked about kind of breaking up that halo effect around her. Have you done any
Right.
more of this, Jean?
I just did. I just fixed that, but I didn't send you a picture of where I fixed it.
Okay.
But I fixed it around the bus line. I took it up a little bit of the lighter color against the bus line, like a bunch of leaves up under there.
Okay.
And I think I wanted to darken that leaf a little bit. I think that's what I did. I did it yesterday, I think. That's to the left of her scarf on her head.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so do me a favor and, send me, send me the final Gene approved version of it. Yeah, I'd like to see the finish. And then last but not least, this is a flower a rose, I'm assuming, because it looks like a rose.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So this is her drawing of a rose. And it works, she's got the shapes right. The value contrast is nice in it, and it really makes it, strong, kind of pop off the page. And yeah, it's a nice little study. So.
Well, this is a small, like 5x7, I think, or something like that. That's a real small piece. Maybe 4x6 even, I don't know. It's not big.
Yeah, we've got to get you working bigger.
And now my internet is unstable. Well, I was doing smaller studies, but so I have a humongous piece, like a 38x40, just one rose and a well, maybe it's a rose and wood, or I don't remember. That's a big watercolor instead of pencil, or it's in color.
Yeah.
Oh, Jimmy.
Well,
okay.
I've been doing a lot of small little studies, just trying to figure out composition, come up with ideas, for paintings, and that's a good way of working, Gene. I mean,
Well, it's just instead of doing big pieces, I've been doing anywhere between 11x14 up to 38.
Okay.
I just decided to do, about 5 or 10, 8x10s and 5x7s, and that's what I've been doing the past couple of weeks, trying to see what I want to do. I haven't made up my mind what I want to work on next.
Right. Yeah, usually the
Looking
way
for inspiration.
Right. Usually the way that works for me is, I'll do a bunch of like little studies. And then I have to get away from them, literally for a couple of weeks. And then I'll get them all back out and I'll set them up and I'll just sit and I'll look at them and I'll just start, taking the ones out, that don't seem to hold together that well for me. And kind of honing it down to just a couple that really work out, really well. And then I'll do a final painting. So.
Right.
Let's see, we have John, and we talked about John's dogs and his, this looks like a country gentleman or something.
Yeah.
He's either got a rifle with him or he's got a walking stick.
With cane.
Supposed to be a walking stick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And behind him is a fence?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, two different fences actually.
Now, are these deers? Look to me like deers.
Now they're sheep.
Sheep?
Yeah. Yeah, you notice the herding dog.
Well, probably they have a haircut because they look okay.
Right. Yeah. Sheep go through part of the
They were just sheared.
This is the spring shearing.
Right. Yeah.
Oh.
So you see, they've already been sheared and then they ran off and hid out. The dog had to go find them and bring them back. So now they're standing.
They want a story for you, John.
Yeah, they're standing before the sheep herder, to pass judgment on them.
So
Will you end up in the pot tonight or not? Because you ran away.
and then the old man is asking, where you been?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. See, you've got a friendlier ending than I do.
Yeah, but you had a fuller belly than he does too at that point.
They end up with mutton later tonight. So anyway, what can I say? We got Naomi, but I haven't seen Naomi in like weeks. She was here a couple of weeks ago. So we're gonna skip over her for right now, and we'll go to Rebecca. And this is kind of a blast from the past. We all went out at Benson. We had a class, and we did a plein air painting class, and we had a model. She was sitting.
Oh, in that corner.
Yes.
I
Right.
remember.
Lost corner, right? And so, you know, you can see the reference over here to the left, and you can see the painting to the right. And
Is
so,
that you standing by the tree?
that's somebody. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I thought that looked
That,
Yeah,
yeah.
that is. That's me.
That's
And
another painting.
I think
That's another painting.
yeah, I think
You can do another painting. By the tree.
Her name is Marty.
oh, that's Marty. Okay, I was gonna say it was Karen Colbert.
Yeah, but the tree is,
Yeah,
yes,
that's me.
Charles, yes. And
Yeah,
the
that's
other
me.
look like
That's me
Molly,
out there
yes.
hanging out by the tree.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Molly was fun.
yeah, that's like a photocopy of a photograph that she
Yeah.
took.
I remember Molly, she was fun.
Okay. So that was a reference. And so, you know, she's been working on this painting. How long have you been working on that, Rebecca?
Too long.
Too long.
So I came back to it after about a year and a half. And I think that's not had anything else done to it actually in about 2 years. So hopefully I've gotten a little better.
Yeah.
But I found it and I wanted to share it with you to bring back memories of our plein air at Lost Corner.
Can I make a suggestion to you?
Oh, I'm sure you will have a lot to say about that painting.
I really only have one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, I like the effect of having all the bright color and things in the background. And it makes everything in the foreground, middle ground begin to feel like it's in shadow, right?
Right.
Okay. And so my suggestion would be this, is not necessarily intense color, but again, if you look at where the light is hitting different areas, like on the top of this wall, and
Right.
like the upper part of that path right in here, and you just
Right.
begin to put some of those lighter values, you know, of the colors that you have there even, you'll begin to get this light effect, you know, of light coming through the tree and hitting different spots, you know, on the ground. And that's what was going on there. You know, you had what we call dappled sunlight, you know, kind of filtering through the different leaves and stuff here. And see up here is, you've got quite a bit of sunlight behind her, and you've got quite a bit of sunlight down here toward the end of the wall. Because neither of those areas actually set directly under the tree. You know, they were, so the tree wasn't really casting a shadow, you know, way up here or way down here. The shadow was, you know, really kind of right all through here. And so, you know, just kicking up a little bit of light in there would make that whole painting a lot more dramatic and, you know, and a little truer to what we were actually seeing. So again, you know, I'm not talking about white. I'm just talking about, like, in this area, this would just become a very, very light gray.
Right.
Overall. So that, you know, it would be light gray from here, and then you would just kind of fade the light gray out and use the color and stuff that you have here, you know, for the top of the wall. That's fine. Same thing here. You know, it would just mainly just needs to be a much lighter value, even lighter than, you know, some of the stuff, you know, back in here.
Yes, because her hair color has got a lot of different values in it, and I made it one solid color.
Yeah, but the light, the light, putting the light behind it would really help her whole head and shoulders move forward in the painting and move her closer to us.
Okay.
So, it's,
Charles,
yeah.
I got mine from that day, I remember, and I don't like it, and I would like to fix it. So I'm gonna send it to you, and you tell me what I should do. You see?
Oddly enough,
You see?
that's kind of what Tuesdays and Thursdays are all about.
Yeah. So everybody can tell me what I should do in this.
Right. Yeah, it's a place, just to kind of get feedback, on the work you're doing. Okay.
Charles, I did not know what to do with the lady's shoulder, so I think I just covered it up with color.
You did.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You can.
Yeah.
Yeah. No diff. So, let's see. And then we have your rooster message holder.
Yes, here is the this is what I used. It's a little holder type wooden
Yeah,
toy type.
I can't see you.
Can you see that?
I cannot see you.
Oh, it's
Oh, there we
because,
go. Okay, now I found you. Okay.
Yeah.
And okay, hold that up again. Okay, so all right, I see it.
Yeah.
Part of it. All right.
Only to the right or the left of the color of your shirt. You can't see it because of the color of your shirt.
Yeah.
Push it. That's right. Push it back.
Well, now she's also using a green screen behind
Now
her.
you got it too low. Hold it a
Yeah,
little bit
no, it
higher.
just disappeared. Gene.
Yeah, higher. Yeah, right there.
That's good.
Higher and then to the left or to the right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
now put it left of where you are.
All right. So let me ask you a couple of questions. All right. All right, that's a real physical object. Did you guys buy that object somewhere?
no, actually, it was given to me as a gift from a teacher friend.
Okay.
Her husband made it.
So somebody made it. Yeah. Okay.
It's folk art.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. It's kind of interesting stuff. So, all right. Nice. And then you sent me this, and this was about Barbara Bradley's book. And she
Yes.
was talking
We
about
had
drawing
talked about
folds.
folds, and I find folds very challenging. And so I went back to Barbara's book,
Yep.
and she has pages and pages of practice. So I just started in. The ones on the very top, one is taffeta material, and the one on the left is taffeta. The one on the right is satin. But I just it was hard. I could not make very much differentiation between those two. And then the ones in the middle, you're supposed to differentiate between new clothes versus old clothes. And then the two skirt type things, one's a petticoat with lots of gathers versus a skirt that's cut on the bias. And then the ones on the bottom are an adult man sitting on a board versus a little kid sitting on a wooden rocker toy.
Yeah. So you're looking at the pants and things wrapping around his legs.
Right. And so it was all a study of doing folds.
Okay. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to, now that you've read her book, I'm assuming you've read the rest of it. I want you to take some clothes out of your closet and then just drape them over something like the back of a chair or something like that, and practice drawing them.
Okay, that's a great idea.
And look at the structure of the folds. And then the key thing here though is look at it and figure out what you can leave out.
Because I'm putting too much in there.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to have every little nuance in there. you really just use the stuff that's going to help you describe the form or the shape of the piece of clothing and what it's wrapped around or laid over. And that's what you're after. You know, it's basically just try to put down a minimal amount. You don't really want to paint every little wrinkle and fold and everything else. It just gets distracting after a while. So, and Barbara talks about that, you know, in the book, you know, simplifying.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you happen to get the picture of the lady with her back toward you and she's twisted? And did you get the picture of the baseball player who's in a stretch?
No, I did not.
I'll send those again.
Okay, then.
The reason that I like Barbara Bradley so much is because she's so clear and so easy to follow in her directions.
Mhm.
You really want to do better just by studying what her lessons are.
Yeah, she was a wealth of knowledge. And, you know, if you're going to learn how to draw from somebody, she would be a great person to learn how to draw from.
Well, I have her little book called Drawing People.
Yeah.
And these are the different lessons that she teaches in it. And so we were out of town for the 4th, and I knew I wanted to keep up the practice, so I took her book with me.
Rebecca, I have that same book, so I think I'm going to do that same page that you just did.
Okay.
And Charles, I'm going to also get something from my closet.
Yep.
And hang it up, and hopefully by Tuesday, I can have something to show you because I really need to work on folds.
Right. And here's the thing, Bernice, just like with Rebecca, I wouldn't copy that page. I would read it,
Mm-hmm.
and I would, out of each of those images, I would try to kind of get the general concept that she's talking about. But
Mhm.
then I would take an actual piece of clothing, something that I had in my closet or whatever, and hang it over something or, you know, do something with it. So, and then I would draw it, you know,
So-
and try to apply that concept.
So what I was going to do was actually, I was going to actually copy the page, you know, step by step the way she did it, and then do some clothing on my own.
Yeah.
That way I would have working knowledge, you know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think you can get there faster by just doing it by your own observation, and you'll
Okay.
actually see it
Mm-hmm.
and have to figure out how you're going to interpret it. So-
Okay.
And that's what we're trying to get you to is, you know, get you to really look at stuff, and then it's like, okay, so what do I need and what do I leave out? You know, and get it down to just the essential stuff, and make it easier and more effective for you to communicate what you're seeing to other people. So, anyway, that's
What I was going to suggest, if she has a piece of scrap cloth that's big and it's too small to hang over a chair, if she got a like a base or a picture or a picture,
Yeah.
or a picture frame and hung it over that, it would still fold and be, you know, for a small piece and easier maybe to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
yeah. You don't need a big, huge piece of fabric. All you need is, like I said, a shirt, or you can take a flat scrap of cloth,
Mhm.
and lay it on
Pillowcase even and do it.
a pillowcase. Yeah, would do it.
Okay. Okay.
You know, a man's or a woman's shirt, you know, would do it. Even a pair of pants. So anything made out of fabric, you know, just drape it or lay it over something, and then look at how it lays, and how certain areas pull tight, other areas relax, right? And then again, you know, try to draw it. Okay. And then last but not least, you know, Veronica sent these in last week. And this is, she's doing a couple of like abstract landscapes. And so she sent this piece in, and then she sent this piece. Okay. And she's really, really playing with some like really thick paint right now. And Veronica, are you here? Veronica, where are you? I don't know. Maybe she's not here. Okay. All right. Well, let's skip those then. We'll wait until she's around. It's 3:08. Okay. And there's 11 of us here. Yay. And I have something. If you guys want to take the time, I have a video of a young woman who is talking about how she left her full-time employment and became a full-time working artist. Any of you interested in hearing that?
No.
Probably about 20 minutes.
I am.
Okay.
Maybe I can make some extra money in art.
Huh?
Yeah.
What about 20 minutes?
Mhm.
Go for it.
Okay. All right. You know.
But do I have to leave retirement?
Well, and I was going to make a comment about that. For most of us, this would not be a problem, but it's not. I'm playing this not because I want you to quit your jobs, because most of you don't have one. But she had some, she had some interesting steps that she went through to begin to kind of create her art practice and to begin to promote herself and get things out there. So she's got a couple of things to say that, if you're thinking about trying to show your art, if you're thinking about trying to sell your art, you might pick up a few tips from her, okay? That's why I'm playing it. Okay, so let's find her. There we go. All right. Let's go share. All right. This is fairly small right now, but we're gonna go make it full screen. There we go. And away we go.
I'm Chelsea. I am a full-time artist. I'm also the voice behind the time-lapse videos here on my channel. And today I want to tell you about how I became a full-time artist, what I needed in place to make it happen so that you can put the same things in place for yourself. And I also want to talk about how I made this beautiful painting that I am so excited to be sharing with you guys. Before I dive into the time lapse, be sure to like and subscribe if you want to hear more about my journey or you have questions about becoming a full-time artist. Put those in the comments because I totally want to hear from you. And with that out of the way, let's dive in. All right, before I talk about the specifics of going full-time as an artist, I do want to mention a couple of things about this painting. The process is the same as it is for all of my other paintings. I begin with a transparent wash using Gamsol. I focus on big shapes as much as I can, and I begin adding paint, focusing on getting the drawing, value, and color of big shapes down pat, and then slowly refining those shapes and thinking about. Hi, my name is Erin from OrthoFeet. Today we'll be looking at the Sanibel Women's Mary Jane shoes. At edges. I also planned out a lot of this painting in advance, so I already knew which edges I'd soften and which shapes I'd simplify, so that by the time I'm starting this painting, I'm no longer questioning these composition choices. My job is to solely focus on translating what I see into the panel. If you want to learn more about the process of how I approach creating realism in my paintings, check out the playlist linked in the upper right-hand corner. Now for the exciting bit, how I became a full-time artist. I wanted to share what it was like for me and what advice I have, because for me, planning to go full-time was a really lonely process. I couldn't talk about it with my day job colleagues, and a lot of my friends hadn't gone through anything similar to this either. And ultimately, I think we naturally seek permission for these sorts of things. And with self-employment, that just won't happen. There isn't a new boss who walks up to you and says, "We'd love to have you, and here's the salary we think you deserve." So no matter how prepared I felt, it still felt like stepping out of a plane and just hoping my parachute would open. So I hope this video can help you deal with some of that same uncertainty that I had and give you the guidance that can be so hard to find to someone looking to make a living from their art. A lot of this video is going to be my story, but make sure you stick around to the end because I'm going to be reflecting on the steps I took and how that can help you in your journey. So to tell this story, I can't quite start with the quitting. I want to back up and tell you a bit about me and how I got into painting in the first place. Trust me, it's relevant. So I didn't grow up in a family of artists, but I did have a family who really understood how much I loved making art and nurtured that from the very beginning. My parents and grandparents made sure that I learned from some of the finest painters out there whenever they came to town for workshops, or even before then, just when I was really little, I got to be in every art class or art camp, and I just felt really supported. But in those workshops I mentioned, I did hear horror stories about artists that I really looked up to who should have been at the top of their career, telling stories of having to choose between buying paints and buying groceries, or having to exchange a painting for overdue dental work. And I didn't really know any artists who just didn't have to worry about money. This is all to say, I really did buy into the myth of the starving artist and thought, if these really talented people aren't making a secure living off of this, how on earth am I going to? So I went to college, studied totally unrelated topics, and got a job that felt safe. It let me write for a living, learn a lot, and work from home. But it also didn't take any time for me to know that I had taken a wrong turn. So I decided to get serious about art as a profession. And I worked at that for 7 years while working at my day job. It started with learning about concept art and illustration. These were art careers that come with salaries and corporate clients. So they felt like a somewhat safe bet compared to what I had heard from the fine artists that I knew when I was younger. But after 5 years of trying, I realized that concept art and illustration were not my forte, nor were they what really excited me. To me, being a fine artist was to be avoided at all costs, you see, because it meant that you had to be a business person every bit as much as a painter. I wouldn't have corporate clients coming to me for a job or a gaming studio paying me a salary. It meant I had to go out and find new clients all the time, and that was terrifying. It also, I eventually realized, was exactly what I needed to do to make the work that I was excited about. I think that being able to have this moment of insight really came down to looking at all of the art that inspired me across any discipline and genre and asking myself, if I could only make one type of art for the rest of my life, which one would I be most happy with? Because the truth is that I love so many different styles of art. Highly stylized animation, game art, you name it. And I have spent an enormous amount of time trying to get good at each of those. But that was also the time where I felt the most aimless and spent a lot of time second guessing my path. By this point, though, I had multiple mentors and teachers mention Richard Schmidt's book, Alla Prima 2. And it was Schmidt's work and the work of his friends and his students that I realized I wanted to chase after. This meant admitting that concept art and illustration, even though they were highly popular for painters my age, were not going to be a career for me, and that I had to take the path that scared me the most. So I needed to start building a business as a fine artist. The next step toward that for me was building a body of work, preparing that work to be able to sell it, and I guess as a prerequisite to all of that, reacclimating to working in oil. So at the suggestion of my friend Adam Brakey, I picked up Carol Marine's book on daily painting, which I'll link down below, along with Alla Prima 2 and Adam's YouTube channel. What I love about Carol Marine's book and the daily painting movement is that working on small paintings with short time limits forces you through so many more cycles of starting and finishing paintings than most of us would possibly go through otherwise. During this process, you wind up becoming really efficient with your brushwork due to that time limit, and you also get a solid sense of routine and learn the process that works for you. I'll talk about this a little bit later on in the video, but one thing I noticed from artists who hope to go full time is that they want to make that leap, but there isn't a consistency in their output, both in terms of the style and just how prolific they are. I think setting something up that enables you to turn out piece after piece very quickly and do a lot of iterating and experimenting and figuring out what makes you really happy as a creative person is essential. Going back to my journey though, I turned out a painting a day for a month. I probably gathered a total of about 40 pieces, and I signed up to fill a vacant studio space for a local art walk. It was just for one evening for a couple of hours. A lot of friends and family came out to support me, but I also had my first sale to a total stranger at that pop-up show. The stranger was a tattoo artist who had fallen in love with one of the larger pieces at my show and borrowed money so that she could put down a deposit on the spot. To this day, this is just still such a special sale to me and such a special collector. It meant so much to me to meet her and share a connection through that piece. I also think that was the moment where I felt like this was something I could really do. That pop-up show happened close to the end of 2018, and about that time I was introduced to this idea of wildly improbable goals. Goals that when they occur to you, you have no idea how you can make them happen, but somehow you know that you will. My wildly improbable goal was to earn the bare minimum income I need to pay my bills that year through my art as the first step to proving that I could make a living full-time from painting. I don't know that this is a step in everyone's process, but for me, I didn't have a spouse I could rely on for income or for health insurance, and moving back with my parents wasn't an option either because I already have a mortgage. I'm also really debt averse and wanted to make sure that I did this without any kind of loan or credit card debt. So it was important to me to feel really confident that I was as prepared as I could possibly be from a financial perspective. Still, even though I wanted to do all that planning, I had no idea what my timeline would look like. Year after year at my day job, I would think, surely by this time next year, I'll be painting full time. But year after year, I was wrong. So even though I had a successful show and was putting promising goals in place, I really wasn't sure how long I would need. I think two things really turned this around for me. The first was going to therapy the year prior to that pop-up show to talk about how I wanted to make this change, but wasn't putting the pieces in place to make it happen. Then the second was to join a mastermind of artist entrepreneurs who were on the same journey and could do some hand-holding as well as just holding me accountable to those goals. The value of that mastermind became apparent almost a year after my pop-up show on the art block. By that point, the stress of my day job had me at kind of a breaking point, and I came to my group and said that I didn't know what to do. I had done the math and figured that at my current rate of growth, I could probably support myself off my art after another year or so. So my coach, the facilitator of the mastermind, asked what the numbers would have to look like to cut that timeline in half and to go full-time 6 months after having that conversation. It was another wildly improbable goal. It seemed totally impossible, and at the same time, it was the most excited I had felt in a really long time. And I had a feeling I could make it happen, even if I had no idea how. At that time, I had requests for teaching private lessons and more commission inquiries coming in, but it wasn't until probably 4 months after that conversation that I was thinking through the numbers and realized that with just 2 more students than the ones who were already working with me and maybe 1 more commission per month, that I could do it. I made a list of anyone who had ever asked me about a commission or teaching and realized that for commissions, I had about 25 people in total, which was enough to last me 6 months. In response to my coach's question about what I'd need to be able to go full-time, I somewhat arbitrarily settled on 3 thresholds that I wanted to meet. The first was 6 months of expenses in savings. The second was 6 months of proving that I could make the income I needed just from painting. And the final threshold was 6 months of booked commissions. As it turned out, I didn't meet these goals perfectly. But the more I looked at the numbers, the more I realized it didn't matter that it wasn't perfect. I hadn't met my income goal prior to wanting to go full time, but I had what I wanted in savings, and I had 6 months of commission interest from those 25 names. Just like I realized those other wildly improbable goals were going to happen, I had that same feeling again. Maybe it'd be crazy. Maybe I'd freak out the first month of not getting a regular paycheck. Maybe navigating health insurance would be a nightmare. But I was pretty sure I'd be okay. So I made the decision. The only thing left was to give notice. This was easily the hardest part of this entire journey. It was like a breakup, but one where you didn't have fights or heartbreaks to propel you through that incredibly difficult moment. The gap between knowing I was ready to go full time and giving my notice was an agonizing couple of weeks. It was like a secret that burned to keep close to me. But when it came time, truthfully, other than feeling incredibly emotional and vulnerable, it went about as well, if not better, than I could have possibly imagined. That was back in December 2019, so probably just 2 months ago. At the time, I had been thinking a lot about this phrase, wherever you go, there you are. I worried that maybe making the leap wouldn't bring me the happiness I was hoping it would. Or maybe I would take all of that intense stress from that last year in my day job, and it would just transform into some new kind of stress that I wasn't ready for. Or maybe the stress of paying bills without a paycheck every 2 weeks was just going to be more than I was prepared to handle. I was not ready for how wrong I was. The past 2 months have truly been the most exciting and joyous that I can remember. I love my collectors and my students, and getting to go to bed on a Sunday night and be so excited to start work on Monday morning. I mean, seriously, how many people do you know that get to feel that way? And because of that, I really wanted to make this video because I think we all deserve to feel that way. And if you're an artist and this is the journey you want to be on, I want to do whatever I can to help you. Originally, I had hoped to make this video and release it right at the beginning of January, when I was like in my first couple of weeks of my new career. But I wanted to have a really special painting to share at the same time. And I just wasn't sure what it was yet. As soon as this painting started to take form, though, I knew this was it. This was actually from a photo that kind of came just accidentally as a part of a commission photo shoot. My model thought that I wasn't paying attention or wasn't really taking pictures at that moment, and just sort of became entranced playing with her own dress and enjoying getting to dress up for the pictures. And I just happened to take this photo right at the perfect moment where she is lost in fairyland playing with the lace on her dress. And I knew that even though it wasn't the image that we wanted for the commission, that it was going to make a really spectacular painting. And I'm really thrilled to be sharing it with you all, and every bit as thrilled to have entered it in the Portrait Society International competition. I really hope you enjoyed watching it unfold, because I had an absolute blast painting it. And I can't think of a better painting to share while I share my story of taking the leap to be able to paint full time. As we get to the end of the painting, though, I want to sum up my thoughts on the steps I needed to take to get to where I am, and what that means for you and your journey. My first step to becoming a full-time artist was to create a giant Pinterest board of all of the art that I have, and reflect on the question of what I would choose if I could only work in one of those styles for the rest of my career. For me, this helped to see that concept art and illustration just weren't my forte, but it's also helpful for artists who experiment with a lot of different styles and don't know which one to pick. I've suggested this to a number of students, and I honestly think it's a great starting point for anyone who wants to become a full-time painter. The second step for me was getting the right support system in place. In my case, I really wanted a therapist to keep me on track emotionally. And I also joined a mastermind to network with other artists who have similar business goals and experience that I could learn from. The mastermind I joined was with Sarah Guthrie through The Abundant Artist.
Sorry about that. All right, let's go back to it again.
I'll include a link to that group in case you're interested in joining too. To this day, I truly believe that without what I had to do to take the leap within 6 months, I would still be at my day job, wondering how many years it would take to make my dream happen. And I think my third step is an extension of the second point. I realized that being a successful artist entrepreneur isn't about believing that if you build it, that they will come. That is, that if you make work that's good enough, that people will offer you money. And if you make work that's even better, people will offer you more money. I think this can be really disappointing for painters who have focused solely on making work that's quote unquote good enough and are still waiting to get paid, because it means that they still have a lot of legwork to do to get their business to where they want. But for painters who are just starting out, I think that this is really encouraging. It means that if you have a good business know-how, or if you're willing to learn, you can get paid to become the painter you want to be. You can start selling work now. You'll notice in this video, I really don't take time to talk about feeling like my work was good enough to sell. And truthfully, I do that because I don't think it really mattered. Yes, my work is at a certain level and I'm incredibly proud of that level. But for me, the gap between being an amateur and a professional had nothing to do with elevating the quality of my work. It was solely about strengthening that business muscle and learning how to market and connect with collectors. Finally, I knew in advance what I needed to have in place to take the leap. I had thresholds to meet, and I also did the legwork of finding a CPA, a bookkeeper, getting business bank accounts, and doing all of the legwork of running a business long before I took the leap. All of these things together meant that my first month of painting full time was remarkably stress-free. All right, and with all of that being said, this pretty much wraps up my advice on what you can do to take your art business full time, and wraps up my story on how I made it happen for myself. This was a really weird video to make. I think every other video I'm teaching something or sharing something about my mindset, but talking about my own story felt really bizarre, frankly. It took me forever to script this video and to sit down and decide that my story was good enough and that it was worth listening to. So thank you. Thank you for listening this far. And I really do hope that this let you get to know me a little bit more, and more importantly, that this could inspire you or show you what's possible, and give you some steps to making your own art dreams come true. Speaking of which, I really want to get to know you all better and hear where you're at in your journey and what questions you have. So please comment down below and just tell me your story and any questions you have or things you think might be standing in the way of going full time, because I really want to help as best as I can. All right.
Okay. So, not that most of you are wanting to go full time as an artist, you know, and start a career or something like that.
You never know.
And you don't have to quit your day job now at this point. So that's one hurdle you don't have to deal with. But the fact is, you know, if you were interested in beginning to show your work, if you're interested in selling your work, things like that, you know, one of the hardest parts of trying to work as a full-time artist is the fact that you do have to manage a lot of aspects of it that really don't have anything to do with the art. You know, they really have more to do with business and just understanding the fact that, you know, you're going to have material cost and overhead and things like that. And you have to be prepared. You have to be prepared to make sure that you can meet that every month. And then the other part, which is probably the hardest part for artists, which is you have to also learn how to talk about your own art now and how to share that with people and get them interested in what you're doing. And then from there, you know, actually sell something, you know, have somebody buy your artwork. And those are all big steps. You know, those are all big steps along the way. And I don't know how many of you have sold your work in the past, you know, things like that. But it's kind of an exciting process. And it's something that, you know, for the most part, all of you are doing work that somebody out there in the world, you know, would like to hang it on their wall. And the issue, like I said, for an artist is, you know, how do you connect? You know, how do you connect to those potential clients? And there's a lot of avenues these days, you know, the internet being one of them. And I know that some of you don't feel particularly computer savvy and things like that. But, you know, there's multiple websites. And, you know, and when I say multiple, I mean, there's probably a couple of thousand websites out there who specialize in doing nothing but selling art, you know. And now there are these fairly exclusive online galleries. And they function pretty much so like a brick and mortar gallery did, only instead of dealing with clients in a small, you know, location and region, they're dealing with clients really all over the world. And so, you know, trying to make contacts with folks like that who can take your work and put it in front of people who you would never have a chance to meet, you know, can really be helpful. And, you know, it's anything that you can do to expand your client base and get your work out there is a good strategy. So the worst strategy is, as she was saying, you know, spending your time, you know, doing the work and hoping that somebody's going to show up and buy it. You know, unless you get it out in the world in some way, form, or fashion, that's not going to happen. So, so you really do if you're going to work as an artist and you're going to make a living off of your art, you know, or at least sell your art, then you're going to have to put in a fair amount of work into also promoting your art and getting it out there in front of people and getting feedback and finding out what, you know, what you love to do, you know, and the other thing is, what do people respond to? What are people buying? You know, what are people commenting when they look at a body of your work? You know, what are the things they naturally gravitate to? And, you know, and just kind of getting that kind of experience takes time. It takes time, it takes effort. So just keep that in mind, okay?
When I first thought about any possibility of selling, my process started with her last process. How do you set up the business part of it? Do you set up an LLC? Do you make yourself a company? Do you write off expenses? How do you pay income tax? That's to me was the big major step.
Oh yeah, yeah, it is. And it's kind of one of these things where, you know, it feels good, it's safe and comfortable to, you know, to sit at home and just paint. But, you know, most people don't have the luxury of being able to do that. You know, once you retire and you've had a full career somewhere else, you know, it might be a little more possible. But, you know, at some point, you know, you're not going to want to just sit at home and paint. You know, you're going to want to actually get something back, you know, from the efforts that you're putting into it. So, you know, selling your work in some form or fashion is kind of a natural next step or progression. And plus, you know, that way you're not taking the money that you're trying to live off of and having to recycle it and put it back into art supply so you can keep painting. You know, if you're selling work, that kind of helps you. You know, that money coming in, now you can go out and get that new set of watercolors or whatever you were thinking about, you know, working with. Yeah.
I'm gonna think about it, because
I noticed that this video is a couple of years old. Is this young lady continuing to be a success? She should be, because she's terribly talented.
Yeah. Well, as far as her commissions and things like that go, I don't know. And being able to judge whether anybody is really being successful at this point after 2020 is kind of a hard thing to tell, because the world basically got turned upside down. And you know, and this may sound odd to say this, but the fact is that this last year and a half, if nothing else, it has given a lot of people time to think and look at what they've been doing for the last, you know, maybe 10, 15 years, and make some different choices about, you know, what they're going to pursue in life. Now, I do know that she has a pretty wide range of YouTube videos that are instructional videos. And, you know, like me, you know, she was deriving a fair amount of her income off of teaching, you know, and then, you know, picking up commissions along the way as well. So, you know, that's always a good strategy. You know, find opportunities to teach, you know, students, things like that. While you're doing that, you know, find opportunities for commission work, whether you do portraits. And you don't, you know, when I say commission work, it doesn't have to be portraiture. You know, I mean, people buy all kinds of art, you know. You know, you might paint their house, you know, a painting of their house. I'm not saying actually go in and paint their house. But you might do that too. You know, you might actually go in and do a mural on their wall. You know, maybe in their kitchen, their living room, something like that, some kind of decorative art. There's artists who do that. You know, there's artists who don't deal with private individuals, but, you know, really focus on companies and, you know, do design work. You know, again, you know, not everybody is a painter, right? But, you know, even painters, you know, you're working with color and design, you know, pattern, things like that. There's lots of opportunities out there. You could actually be deriving some kind of income from your creativity, you know, no matter what that is. So, you know, just there's a huge show every year. Actually, there's several huge shows every year. You know, one is for the paper industry and another is for the textile industry. And both of those industries, you know, are dying to get, you know, a broader range of artists to, you know, basically work with, so that they can come up with, you know, something new and interesting, unique and contemporary. So, you know, so whether you like to do representational art or whether you like to do something totally abstract, you know, there's room for both. So.
Well, I really enjoyed this young woman's perspective and how she was not happy. She did something about it, but she went through a lot of steps and thought out every step of the way and planned. And it was very gratifying to see how well she had her safety net set up. I kept hearing her say things like, am I good enough? Am I good enough? Of course she was good enough, but that's just part of it. You have to be the business person too. You have to have a talent. You have to market yourself. And the business part is just as complicated as learning how to draw.
Yeah. And the fact is that, and she said it pretty clearly, it's not about skill and talent. It really isn't at the end of the day. You know, you cannot predict how somebody seeing a piece of artwork is going to react, you know, whether they're going to like it or not like it. You know, and believe me, for everybody that you find out there, you know, who will love a particular thing you do, you'll find just as many people who don't. You know, it's not their thing.
Different taste.
Yeah. And believe me, you know, style has nothing to do with it as well. You know, there's very professional looking painters out there, and then there are people who, you know, do things that have a sense of humor, or, you know, have some aspect that's appealing to, you know, maybe a different group of people. You know, the market is huge out there. And believe me, just about anything that you do, there's somebody out there, you know, there's a market out there, you know, that will buy it. So it's just you connecting yourself to that market, and that's it. And the business part, I would say at this stage, you know, where I'm at right now, I would say that the business part is probably far more important, you know, than just working on your skills. You know, the business part, as far as, you know, the actual how to run a business or how to make it a business. And then the other part of the business part that most business people don't talk to is, how do you promote yourself? And I would say that's probably, if I had to break it down into a 100% circle, you know, I would say that probably promoting yourself and learning how to talk to people about your work is a good 60% of it. You know, the actual physical, you know, running a business part of it is, you know, probably a good, you know, 25% of it. And then that last 15%, that's the actual painting. You know, now I'm not saying, you know, if that's time. I'm just saying, as far as being relevant to being successful, yeah, you know, that promoting yourself is a big, big piece right there.
Maybe I might quit my full-time job.
You're gonna quit your full-time job now?
Yeah, go.
Okay.
Yeah, full-time artist.
Okay. All right. Well,
I'm tired of my full-time job.
Are you?
Start showing us some of your work, Armando.
That's right. You know, you got to get over that big part of the hurdle. You got to get out there and start talking about your work and promoting it and letting everybody know what you do. So this is a great place to do that. You see?
The only thing I've seen shows of okay first.
Nobody has started to figure out how to help Grandma Moses like me, who doesn't get out. But that's all. That's what I do, is I paint.
Well, Gene, you have to quit your full-time job.
I don't have a full-time job. So I'm 90 years old.
Right.
My job was just to stay living.
Well, the other part of your job, then, if you want to become Grandma Moses, the thing that made Grandma Moses a success was that, A, it was good fortune because she just happened to come by one of the curators of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. But the other thing is, you know, she knew how to connect with people. Right. And it was her personality and things. And you know, would you say that she was technically a great painter? No, she was not. But there was something that was, you know, very tangible, very real about her work that people could relate.
Appealing paintings for the period of time.
Yeah.
she pulled it from.
I didn't know she had all of them. I thought she had it. Maybe.
What, Bernice?
Dancing here or whatever. A little party here.
Oh,
Must be talking to somebody else.
yeah, I
don't
think
know.
Bernice is talking to somebody else. Okay, anyway. All right. Anyway, I wanted to play that for you, just to get you guys thinking a little bit about how to get your art out the door. And speaking of which, you know, I still have not heard anything anything final back from that show at the library, and I'm still pursuing that. I will let you know as I find out, okay?
You're pushing us to quit our full-time job, I know.
Okay.
There's a walkthrough scheduled for July the 10th through the library. It was open to a limit of 100 people and you had to make reservations. So that's scheduled now. So they have, I guess, maybe their permanent art is already in place. I don't know, but
Oh, they finally open.
I don't think they're going to open until September, but they are allowing the people who registered for this walkthrough to come.
Yeah.
Which library?
The Central Library in downtown Atlanta.
Oh, no. Yeah, I know where I've been in that library, yes. 100 years ago.
Maybe too late, Charles, if they're running people through July the 10th and we're not hanging our stuff up there yet.
Well, again, the library won't actually open till September.
Yeah. I know, I'm just.
Close to the station, Five Point or Peachtree Center?
It may just be a temporary exhibit, one of the exhibits that they might sponsor during the year.
Yeah, anyway, you know, they're trying to put something together for us to show some work, so.
Is that his song?
I'm sorry, what?
Oh.
Bernice, are you talking to us?
Oops, now she's on mute.
No, now she's on mute, okay. All
Do we
right,
get a preview of tomorrow?
say what now?
Do we get a preview of tomorrow or a hint?
Tomorrow's at 10.
Oh, we're gonna draw some interesting looking people,
Okay.
All right.
okay? Mainly faces, okay?
You know, something that I noticed about the classes, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is 10 a.m.
Uh-huh.
Thursday, Tuesday, and Thursday, 2 p.m.
Yes,
So it's easy to remember.
good. We didn't really want to make it difficult.
Well, you put us in an up and down, but it's okay.
Okay.
Well, so far this week, I'm liking the schedule. It seems to add more time in between.
Okay. All right. I know you can only take so much of me at a.
That's what it is, yeah, right.
I can take more, but morning times are not helpful to me.
Charles,
Afternoon.
we have a lot to do.
Okay. Yeah, we do. All right, y'all.
Well,
I guess we will see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., which does not seem that far away. Okay.
okay.
It is.
All right.
I get.
All right, and we'll do a little drawing.
Well, Charles,
Yes.
the link that you sent me, that's how I got in today and once last, day before yesterday. That link. Yesterday, there was only one time on the schedule. It wasn't. It was on there for 10, but not 2.
Right.
One day.
Yes.
So
Okay.
I still should be able to hit the link.
Okay. Jackie,
Yeah.
I sent out an email. It had 5 different days: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Each one of those days had one link to one class. I'm only doing one class
Oh,
per day.
okay.
And as Armando pointed out very astutely, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays are at 10 a.m. in the morning. Tuesdays and Thursdays are at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. So That's the schedule we're running right now. That seems to make the majority of people happy.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I kind of like that schedule too.
yeah.
One class.
So
That's-
like anything in life, it doesn't matter what you do. Not every, you're not going to please everybody. So
Never,
yeah.
never. No exceptions to that.
Yeah. So what can you do, right?
Right.
Anyway,
Thank you.
thank you
very
all for coming, and we will see you in the morning. Okay.
Okay.
And we'll be saying Happy Friday to you in the morning. Okay. All right.
Good.
Have a good night.
You too.